In a world where there are a million movie reviews, in a time where every single person has a podcast, in a place where everyone is a critic, it's Netflix and Phil.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Netflix and Phil. I'm very excited today to be speaking to Alok Mishra, producer on One BR or One Bedroom or both.
Well, we prefer one BR because that's the way
Okay.
people will find it, actually. But it's called different names in different countries because we didn't know that, no one knows that real estate abbreviation. It's very typically American. The English didn't know what it was. The Australians didn't know what it was. So they call it apartment one BR over there.
Right.
And in Japan, they call it madhouse.
Oh my gosh, I'll never be able to know how. Say that one more time.
It's madhouse. Like that's what it's called. That's the
So
Japanese
it's
translation.
Madhouse. That is great. Well, I came across this film. I guess now it's close to, wow, is it 3, 4 years ago? Or I think it dropped on Netflix in 2020.
2020 August, yeah. It
Yeah.
it was we premiered at Fantasia Film Festival in July of 2019, and then
Mhm.
we proceeded to go on a very big festival run for basically 6 months. We went to like 16 different festivals all over the world, trying to hype the film. And it's what you do when you don't have you don't have a lot of stars in the movie. Let's say we think they're great stars. We think they're big stars in our hearts, but general public maybe doesn't know many of them. So we had to like hype the movie itself. So we did that, and it came out April of 2020. We were
Okay.
supposed to have a theatrical release, but that didn't happen because of COVID. I mean, we were sitting there in March, and we were like, "Oh, this COVID thing will blow over. It's gonna be fine." And by the middle of March, we are like, "We are fucked." Can I curse? Can I curse?
Yes, and it's so
So
unfortunate. But what I observed is that your film got a lot of traction in the streaming environment. Is that accurate?
yeah, I mean, what actually happened was that we switched gears and we switched to doing like interviews, podcasts, whatever, to get the word out on the film. And it did a good amount of work. I mean, we did a good amount of work, and it did actually pay off for us because when we entered into onto VOD,
Uh-huh.
like in April, we came out really strong. Like we essentially were like the number 2 or 3 movie in the horror section for iTunes. This was across like all of the platforms, Google Play, wherever. It shot up, and somehow the awareness was there. Somehow the word of mouth was there,
Right.
and we went to Netflix, and we were like, "Look, it's done good," and they were like, "All right, we'll take you. We'll give you very little money, but we'll take you." And we're like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." Like, we'll take your no money because we knew
Well,
it was the biggest, baddest platform. Really, that's the thing. It has the most amount of subscribers. And look, if we were this movie has sequel potential, and we can talk about that later. But we knew that if it's a franchise, we want as many people to see it as possible, because it really at the end of the day, look, we're gonna make the money back. It's almost there. I'll say this: we're getting close this year. I think we'll be paid off.
hmm,
But it's more important that people see the movie than anything else to establish like a franchise to sort of rise above the noise. There's so many horror movies that come out every year. How do you rise above the noise? There's a lot of trickery that has to go on to do that. So when we did come out on Netflix in August 2020, we
mhm.
debuted in the top five, and we stayed in the top five for 8 days. Not the top 10, but the top five, and we got to number one. So that was a crazy thing. Like we basically worked all over the summer. We knew in May we were going to be on in August. So the
Mhm.
whole summer we just worked, and we were opening in different countries as well. So we
Sure.
just worked on doing interviews, getting reviews, still trying to get certified fresh, which we did finally. I mean, we were at 88% certified fresh with 83 reviews. So it all worked out, and
Well,
that's how we garnered more reviews and stuff, and kept it sort of in the mind and in the public's eye, in their mind, in their
mhm,
hearts, in a way, so that when it did come out, there'd be an awareness of it. Because I used to test movies for a living. I did market
mhm.
research for film for 18 years, and the biggest thing that you need to do with a small film is sort of rise above the noise. If
Right.
you can get into people's minds and they're like, "I remember, I've heard of this movie. Where have I heard of?" Especially if a horror fan,
Uh-huh.
then it can work well for you. We actually tested the film with very small audiences, not the way you're supposed to. But we did 5 different test screenings of 20 people, did focus groups on them, and culled data. And what we found out is that the way you score a film is you rate it excellent, very good, good, fair, poor. Our movie was testing very good. It wasn't excellent, but it was testing very good. The other question that they asked for is, would you definitely recommend the film to a friend, right?
Right.
And we had a very high score for that. So we knew there was very little rejection in the film. So we weren't we weren't fearful to take it to journalists and try to get reviews, and B, we knew that if people watched it, they would tell their friends. And you telling your friend about a movie is like the best. It's better than any trailer I can pay to have pay to have cut in comparison. Like you telling your friend that movie is fucking dope. That will literally get your friend off their ass, will tip the meter, and they will go watch the film. Your say so is more powerful than anyone can actually. And the studios know this, by the way. So we knew we had high score one of those. So we knew people would talk about the film. We just needed to get it out there, get it into their their ear holes and their minds, just to sort of like tip the thing that they would press play when they got on Netflix, and they did. And we got to #1, and we beat Jamie Foxx's Project Power. And Forbes wrote an article about it. They're like, "Who is this little piece of shit movie that just unseated Jamie Foxx's Project Power?"
I've followed the one BR account on Twitter, and that's how we connected today. And what I appreciate about it, and I take it you monitor it. Is there any other hands involved with it, or
there are a couple other people. I can't do it 24/7, but
right.
it entertains me to see what people think, and of course we always thank people if they've given us a good review. And
Of course.
sometimes we pretend like it's a real cult, and we invite people to dinner parties, and like we'll see you soon. We'll do stuff like that. It's kind of fun.
And that's what really intrigued me about it is, and they're kind of doing that. I don't know if you're following the account for Megan, which is coming out in January. There's like that immersive experience with the account where there's like this ominous tone to it, or the person behind the account is speaking in the universe of, say, 1BR, which I think is great and great fun to have that, add that kind of dark humor to it. So you've alluded to it a little bit, some facets of what you do as a producer. Explain to me, like you mentioned the movie is making its money back, etc. Educate me. What does a producer do? And it sounds like you have many irons in the fire, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, look, here's what it is. Independent producer does a lot more than, say, a producer that has like a 3-picture deal with like Sony or something, right? Like,
Right.
they got an assistant. I don't got an assistant. I'm my own assistant.
Right.
But you may raise money. You may connect actors to the piece. You may you may mortgage. You may have allegedly mortgaged an already paid off house to make this movie. Let's say, for example. And I have a great producing partner, Shane Vorster, and we have a company called Malevolent Films, which is like right behind me up there.
Right.
And we're our motive is that we were trying to look for thinking man's horror movies. That's sort of what we're trying to do. So like to answer your question, look, I mean, I went in, I did everything from that to like, having to be an extra in the movie. And like, I would get mad at them because they'd be like, "We don't have enough extras. You need to get in there." Like, and I was like, "I just want to sit a video village like a normal producer and like fucking watch the thing being filmed." I'm like, no, you need to get in there. Are you wearing a branded shirt? Why the hell are you wearing a branded shirt? I'm like, because I think I'm not gonna be in a fucking movie. I think I'm a real producer. You're like, well, we got a black t-shirt for you. Here, go be in the movie now. I'm like, so you'll see me. You'll see me and my producing partner moving stuff a lot in the background. Like we're movers #1 and #2. I think that's how we were credited. But you'll see us at different parts of the movie. And Naomi Grossman, who's a dear friend who plays Janice in the movie, we go on these podcasts a lot, and she likes to say, "Play a drinking game, but make sure you pour yourself something really weak because you're gonna get drunk by the end of it if you drink every time you see Alok and Shane." And so.
Well, next time I watch it, I'm going to have something with me to imbibe, and I'll look for you and Shane throughout the film.
Hey, I mean, if you can, I'm sure this is going to be airing like around January. We're going to be on, all these different AVOD platforms. We are leaving Netflix, so let's let you know. We may be coming back, but I can't say when. But we are going to be for free on Tubi and Freevee, which is Amazon's ad-supported video on demand. Also Plex, also Peacock, also Roku TV, Pluto TV, and Zumo. So 1BR is for the people. It's free. You just got to watch a couple of ads. Just like like old TV. Remember old TV? You had to watch the ads. You couldn't like DVR through it or whatever. It's bringing it back,
I,
baby.
I
And so
remember.
because look, this is the way independent filmmakers make money nowadays. This is like one of the only ways we make money because like you're the split when you rent something on Amazon or whatever, they're taking 50%. And your distributor gets like another, they take their pound of flesh. By the time you're left with it, you're like, I got $1? I got $1 for this? And like the Blu-rays are even worse. Like I got $2 for it. What is this? Like with these things, with these AVOD platforms, filmmakers make anywhere from 10 to 22 cents per view if you watch the whole thing and watch the commercials and stuff.
This is
So
this is good to hear. So you're getting payment via clicks essentially.
if you watch the whole movie and you watch all these commercials that they're shilling you for, and by the way, the commercials are pretty short. Like there's two ways it works. One, they're going to show you commercials kind of pretty somewhat frequently throughout the thing, but those commercials are only like a minute and a half. And then there's another way where they just do like, I don't know, 2.5 minutes of commercials at the very beginning, and then they don't do anything the rest of the movie. So they got you that way or whatever.
Right.
But it's these platforms are by and large the way that independent filmmakers are actually making their money or making their budgets back right now. So it really does help, even though there are commercials. And listen, if the commercial's a real big deal to you, you can go watch it on Shudder without any commercials. And Shudder, by the way, is worth your money. Is absolutely worth your money. It's the best, like $5.99. It's half the price of a beer in LA. Okay, so it's definitely worth it. Or go rent it, or buy the Blu-ray if you want. If you feel so strongly about physical media, which a lot of our horror fans do. I'll make a hot $2 off of that.
I love it. Well,
Amazon will take the rest.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you for pulling back the curtain on that, because I've always been kind of curious how money is made with these projects. So thank you for giving us some detail surrounding that. Quickly, Alok, you mentioned casting. You mentioned Naomi Grossman, who's in this. And I read an article where you were all set to go and had a lead cast ready to go and be in 1BR, and some unfortunate things happened.
We were sitting there on a Monday and we were shooting on a Thursday. And as I mentioned, the independent producers do a number of demeaning things because they don't have anybody to go do it for them because they don't have any money. And so we had this lead actress, this young lady, had we have 5 million Instagram people or whatever. And like, that's the kind of shit you look at as producers nowadays. It's bullshit, but you have to, because she has that many followers. And if you get like 1/4 of those followers, then you're already in the black and blah, blah, blah. David Marmer really wanted Nicole Bryden Bloom, but we literally had to put a gun to his head and be like, look, with this girl, we're in the black. You need to make this work. And so we did that, and he got more comfortable and he liked her and everything. But she required this feminine energy drink as part of her writer. And we had talked to the company who makes that drink, and I can't say what the drink is because they were lovely guys. They sent us literally a pallet, like go to the roof, like from the bottom of the floor to the roof, full of this fucking energy drink. But it wasn't going to get there until 2 days into production. So I found out where this energy drink exists because it's very shishi. And I had to go to the Gelson's in Marina Del Rey, and I found a case of it. And as I was asking the manager, I was like, listen, can you go in the back and see if there's any more? Because I feel like I need another case. He's like, I don't think we have any, but I'll go look. But right when he goes to look, her agent calls us and tells us she's out. And we're like, what? And then not only that, and here's a tip for you: don't hire as your male lead. Don't hire this young lady, that young lady actress. Her good friend or boyfriend, allegedly, we don't know. But I thought, like, look, if he's good enough for the CW, he's good enough for us. And so we hired this guy, and then he calls subsequently, and he's dropped out. And the manager comes back and is like, I have a case of it. I had another case of it. And I was like, we don't need any of it.
Oh my gosh.
So we end up moving the whole movie back a week. Instead of starting on Thursday, we're going to start the next Monday, right? And what we do is we call Nicole Bryden Bloom. She lives in New York, actually. Oh, wow. Kind of meta, her coming out here like Sarah did to kind of like, stranger in a stranger land. And so she says yes, and she's a trooper. She gets on a plane. I think we get her out by Friday. She gets 3 whole hours to rehearse with David Marmer, our amazing writer-director, for the movie. That's all she gets. And that's how good she is. Like, she didn't need any more because she fucking hit it every take. It was like the first take, she'd get it. Like, it was like the best favorite word for a producer is moving on. We're moving on. Like, okay, great. We're gonna make our day. No. So the end of the story was this. She comes out on the Friday. Now, fast forward to Friday. We're sitting there. Still haven't got Miss Stanhope. We still haven't gotten the Brian character. So I asked for a bunch of reels from friends, and like people send me Susan Davis's reel. I look at the reel. She's great. Obviously, she's an old pro. She's been on everything. She's Robert Altman's cousin, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
Fun fact. He made her come out here because you can act. None of these people can act. Come out from Kansas City, I'll make you a star. She made herself a star. But she has a number at the end of her reel. And I'm like, oh, I call the number, like thinking it's gonna be her manager or agent, but it's not. It's her. And so I'm like, this is horribly probably this is not what you're supposed to do. But I'm going to tell you about the movie, and I'm going to tell you about us, and let's see. And so she like tell her about the movie, picture the movie, and she's like, never been in a cult movie before. And so she's interested and this is at 9:30 in the morning. By 11:30, we signed her. And now we're sitting like in Barney's Beanery because we don't have our male lead yet. We're just still freaking pulling our hair out. We're calling friends at like Blumhouse. Like I knew they had a post-production, kept making them call like CAA and like all the agencies to stay open late for our shitty little movie. Right, because they don't give a shit. Like we're SAG Ultra low budget. Agents aren't making any money off of this. Like So anyway.
Oh, did you freeze on me, Alok? Hold on just a second. Oh, Alok, I think I lost you. Oh no.
Fuck! We've got a problem.
There's a certain sound